All right, so we're diving into conscience this time. You've sent over some really interesting stuff on this.
Yeah, it's something we all think we get right. Like, everyone knows that little voice telling you what's right and wrong.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you actually try to, like, define it, it gets kind of slippery.
Totally. And it's not new. Philosophers have been going back and forth on this forever.
No kidding. Well, speaking of going way back, we've got some Socrates, some Plato in the mix you sent. What was their take on all this?
Well, they were really big on the idea that conscience is all about knowledge. Like, if we truly understood good, we'd never choose bad.
So kind of like bad choices mean bad information, not a bad person.
Exactly. They thought we were all inherently geared towards good, just sometimes we miss the mark because we don't fully get it.
Huh. Optimistic. I like it. But not everyone was so forgiving of our little slip-ups, right?
Right. Kant, for example, he came along and said, hold on, it's not just about feeling good, it's about reasoning it out too.
Ah, yes, Kant. And his famous categorical imperative. Always a fun time.
Right. He was all about this universal moral law. Like, would this action be okay if everyone did it?
So before I do something, gotta ask, would I be cool with this being the rule, even if it meant I got the short end of the stick sometimes?
Exactly. It's not just about how it makes you feel in the moment.
Makes sense. Okay, but philosophy's great for the big picture.
Mm.
But how does this inner judge actually get built in? Isn't that where psychology comes in?
100%. And you can't dive into the psyche without our main man, Freud.
Freud. Always a fun one to unpack. So how do you figure conscience plays into all this?
Well, leave it to Freud to go deep, right? He saw it as part of the superego. All those rules we internalize, from parents, society, all that.
So like we're building a rule book in our heads as we go. Don't eat the cookies, play nice,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. Though, to be fair, modern psychology, it's a bit more nuanced than that. It's not just external rules getting imposed. Our own emotions, they're huge here.
Okay, so we're talking feelings now. Guilt, empathy, all that.
Exactly. Like, studies show folks who are more empathetic, they tend to be more morally driven, they feel other people's pain, and that really impacts how they act. It's not just follow the rule, it's how it's going to make someone else feel.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's like reason, rules, and gut feelings all mixed up in there. No wonder it's not always easy knowing the right thing.
Yeah, it's messy. And remember that example you had about the coworker stealing supplies?
Oh, right. Talk about a conscience twister. Like, stealing is wrong, but you don't want to be the office snitch either. What do you even do there?
See, and that's what makes this so interesting. It's textbook, right? Stealing, bad,
Hmm.
probably breaks company rules, maybe even the law.
Totally.
But then loyalty kicks in, empathy for the coworker. Maybe you're scared of what'll happen if you say something.
And boom. Easy answer just got complicated.
And that is conscience at work. It's not this perfect compass, always pointing true north. It's more like you're having this internal debate, all these factors in the mix.
So what tips the scales? What makes some people speak up while others stay quiet? Is it like some folks are just more in tune with that inner voice?
Right.
Like, what is it about those people who seem to just, I don't know, have a stronger sense of this stuff? Is it something you're born with?
Well, there probably is something to be said about, some folks being kind of naturally wired that way. Some are just more tuned in to those feelings, that guilt when something's off.
Like their conscience alarm is extra sensitive.
Yeah, something like that. But the good news is, even if you weren't born with that inner siren blaring, doesn't mean you're out of luck. It's like building a muscle, You got to work it out.
So how do we do that? How do we give our conscience a workout routine?
Honestly, just taking the time to really sit with yourself, your own values. What do you believe is right? What's wrong? Where's the line for you? That kind of thing.
So making your own personal code, basically.
Yeah. But more than just listing it out, think about why those are your rules. Where'd they come from? Reason, empathy, stuff you were taught. The more you get that, the easier it is to handle those iffy situations.
It's like figuring out your own internal operating system,
Yeah.
right? Then you're not just reacting, you're choosing how to respond.
Exactly. And then beyond that, sometimes it's just, doing it.
Like, just do the right thing, even when it's hard. Easier said than done sometimes.
For sure. But think about it. Each time you do act on what you believe, even small stuff, it's like reinforcing that pathway in your brain. Makes it more likely you'll listen next time.
Building good habits, like even if it's just speaking up when someone cuts in line or giving back extra change, those little moments matter.
They totally do. It's that link, between knowing and doing that makes the difference.
Makes sense. But we've got to be real. We've all had those times where we knew better, didn't do better. Ignored that nagging feeling. Why is that so hard?
Ugh. The million-dollar question. And there's so many reasons, right? Sometimes it is self-preservation, like speaking up could cost you your job, a friendship, who knows?
Got to weigh the risk, like, is doing the right thing worth the fallout? It's not simple.
And sometimes it's sneakier than that. We justify it to ourselves. It's not a big deal. Everyone else does it. We're good at making ourselves feel better, even when we probably shouldn't.
Classic cognitive dissonance. Our brains are amazing at twisting things around to fit how we feel.
The best. And don't forget the outside pressure, too. Your friends, the group you're in, even just being in a hurry, that can all cloud your judgment. Suddenly you make choices you never thought you would.
They're like a whole battlefield in our heads sometimes. No wonder conscience is so complex. Well, this has been quite the deep dive, from old school philosophers to how our brains are wired. So after all this, what's the one thing you really want our listener to walk away thinking about?
Honestly. Just in understanding our conscience, it's not like you figure it out once and you're done. It's a process. Taking stock of your own values, really hearing that inner voice even when it's a pain, trying to make your actions match your beliefs. It's not easy, but it gets to the heart of who we are.
Really makes you think about those moments, when you felt that tug, that little voice. Did you listen? Why or why not?
A lot to unpack there. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into all things conscience. Until next time.